Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I'm so excited because today I get to share a conversation that I had with you. I sat down with Kristen Hadeed, who is the founder of Student Maid, and she's the author of the book, Permission to Screw Up: How I Learned to Lead by Doing Almost Everything Wrong. Great title, right? You can check out our interview, and I know you're gonna love it because we both can relate at what it's like to screw up now and then. Check this out. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and I am hanging out in our studio with Kristen Hadeed. Kristen, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're in town from Gainesville, so we get to hang out a little bit. Now, I've been doing a little research on you, and you are not only a successful small business owner, but you teach a lot of people about failure. So I want to talk about that, but before we begin, go ahead and tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your business and what you do.
Yeah, so I was not one of those kids who came out of the womb saying, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Sure.
You know, changed my major 9 times in college,
Great.
Totally lost. And 19 years old, I walk into the mall and didn't have any money, but I fall in love with a pair of jeans.
Okay.
$99, don't have any money to pay for them.
Okay.
So I think, what is something I can do to just make enough money to buy these?
Sure, I need these jeans. I have to have them,
Yeah, put an ad on Craigslist to clean a house.
Okay.
Charge exactly the price of the jeans.
I love this so much.
Disaster. Like, I mean, I knew how to clean my room, but this was a 4,000 square foot house.
Oh my gosh.
Told her it would take me 2 hours, took me 7,
Oh my
still
gosh.
wasn't done. She was like, you need to go home.
Yeah.
This is going way too long. But she paid me, bought the jeans, thought that was it. Then she called me the next day and said, hey, I really need help, and I'll hire you to come every week, and I'll teach you how to clean. So it was like, this is a win-win.
Right.
So that's how it started. And she told her friends about me, who told their friends. Next thing I know, I'm cleaning every day, pretty much.
Wow.
But the turning point really happened right before my senior year. I got this contract to clean hundreds of empty apartments. Had 21 days, I think it was like 800-something apartments.
Oh my gosh.
Signed it, because I thought at that point I wanted to move to New York. I thought it'd be a great way to pay for my dream apartment that I was going to have. And nothing, I mean, disaster is an understatement. It was like, I had no business experience. I was leading a team of, I hired 60 people, clueless. And 3 days in, 45 of them quit.
Oh my gosh.
And because I was such a bad leader. I mean, I was doing nothing. They were cleaning these apartments. I was sitting in this air-conditioned clubhouse with my feet literally propped up, thinking like, this is easy.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally can do this.
But I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Right.
Truly, what am I supposed to be doing? So 45 quit. And I say that was the moment for me that really changed my whole life, because it was that moment that I became obsessed with leadership. I was excited about this challenge of building a company where people really wanted to be. And it was that failure that in the moment felt so terrible, but really is the reason that I turned down a job in New York and decided to stick with this company and figure it out.
Okay, so tell me about your company now. Like that's how you got started, which is a crazy story, by the way, and awesome. What does the company look like today? What are you doing? What are you working on? What are you excited about? That type of stuff.
So Student Maid has been around now for 11 years.
Okay.
And we hire primarily students, high school and college students. But if someone fits our culture and they're not a student, they can absolutely work with us. And we clean. That's what we do. But we say that really what we do is we build leaders. And so what that means is we want everyone to leave our doors a stronger leader with more skills than they had when they walked in. And a lot of these things that we teach are like how to build relationships, how to handle conflict, how to give feedback, how to give recognition, and things that you don't learn in the classroom, but they're so critical to success.
Right.
So our students are paid to attend these workshops. They are not a choice. They're, you know, it's kind of like if you want to be on the team, you have to be invested in your own growth and learning.
Right.
And so we're really excited about that and continuing to develop our curriculum there. But what I'm most excited about is our ambassador program, and this is a new thing. We thought, how cool would it be if our students could run the company and learn like what it really takes to be a business owner? Because many of them want to be business owners one day. So we have our ambassador team, and these are students who apply to actually hold an executive position in the company. So we have someone leading operations, someone leading the recruitment team, and it's a 6-month thing. They learn so much, and then you know, they can go off and pursue it.
So everything you're doing now is a result of that pivotal day, that failure. Okay, so I've got so many questions about this day. Number one, how did you identify what you were doing wrong. Like you knew that, you know, a huge percent of your staff walked out. Most people would just be like, I'm going to give up. Clearly I wasn't cut out for leadership. Instead, you became obsessed with figuring leadership out. So how did you discern what went wrong in order to know what to do right, to do what you're doing today? Like, what did that transition look like?
You know, what's funny is I didn't know what I did wrong. And I remember feeling frustrated and confused because when these 45 people walked out on me, they didn't tell me why. They just literally turned around and walked out. And if I really peel it back, I grew up in a house where failure was something we talked about. It was a regular discussion, you know, at the dinner table. What did you do wrong today? My parents talked about what they did wrong. If my sister and I didn't win in a contest, like I had a speech contest, I didn't win first place. And I remember them asking me, why do you think you didn't win? You know, what could you have done better? So the way I got these 45 people back.
Oh, okay.
And the way that I got them back was by telling them, I don't know what I'm doing. And I admitted weakness, which to me was just second nature because I've been doing it my whole life, right? But what I learned is you don't have to know what you did wrong, but you do have to be able to stand up and say, I did something wrong. Can you help me understand what it was?
Someone else can show me and be willing to listen to what they say, sure.
And then you become a human, right? And so they saw me as someone who definitely had a heart, just didn't know how to use it, and I think wanted to give me a chance because I was willing to say, you know, I need your help and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I did wrong.
And so many leaders miss that very simple step in leadership of just asking for that feedback and then listening to the response. But, so you teach a lot now on failure, and this is a tough topic. Like, this is not an easy topic to take on. So for you, obviously part of your story, but why is this so important to you specifically to teach on this and speak on this and write on this and all this?
I think for women especially, I think anyone in a position of leadership, you're kind of programmed to make people feel safe. And you think, okay, how do I make people feel safe? Well, I have to know the answers. I have to know the right way forward. I have to act like I know what I'm doing, even if inside I don't know. And it's seen as a weakness if you don't do those things. So I learned through my journey that that's actually not true. That when you can stand up and admit weakness, that's actually when you, I think, become a strong leader. So I wanted to change that perception of what does leadership really look like? What does vulnerability look like? And I think it's about asking for help and admitting that you don't have the answers. And what that does is it's contagious. So when you as a leader stand up and say, hey, I failed, you're encouraging other people to talk about that, to ask for help, to, you know, not feel so alone when they do mess up. It
creates this really honest dialogue where you're then talking about the real issues and the real problems versus always operating at the surface of everyone acting like they have it all together, have all the answers, or are 100% confident. You know, so I think that's a really good insight, especially for the Women of Business Boutique, for them to understand you don't have to have all the answers. And many of them don't. They feel like, man, I'm not business minded. I don't have a business background. All these things like, as if that disqualifies them, but no, it just means you need to ask some more questions. Okay, that's what anyone can do. So, so I love that perspective.
Yeah, and I think if I look at what are the biggest lessons I've learned? Okay, people have to feel valued, but how did I learn that lesson? By making people feel not valued. You know, relationships are important, but how did I learn that? By having superficial relationships or burning a bridge, or, you know, so it's always, there's something tough that you have to learn and that you have to fail at before you learn the real lesson, and it's not failure as long as you're growing from it and doing it differently the next time around.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I think that for a lot of women that are especially starting out in business, but maybe even those that have been in business a while and, you know, want to take it to the next level or launch a new division or a new product or that type of thing, this fear of failure can be paralyzing. You know, they have had this idea for years and they won't act on it. They've had this business dream for months and they won't take that step because they just have that fear of failure. It's paralyzing. So why is this such a problem for us? Like, why are we so scared to fail that we don't do anything at all?
I think because we don't talk about failure a lot and people aren't really sharing, hey, here are the, you know, really horrible things that have happened to me that I've learned the hard way on. We feel like we're the only ones who maybe are struggling with this. So we're scared to take steps and move forward, because what if we're the only one to fail when really everyone's truly failed? But I think something that I've done in my business is I've tried to wrap my head around, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And if that outcome actually happened, what would I do? And I realized it's never the end of the world. Life will go on, and I'd rather take the steps to make it happen so that I know whether it worked out or not versus wondering what could have been, what would have been. And my most recent failure is we opened a second location. It failed hugely. And I had to go and tell all these wonderful students that they didn't have a job anymore. It was awful. But I learned so much during that experience, and it's not going to prevent me from looking to expand the company in the future, right? Yeah. But it's hard.
It is hard, and it's never fun. It's never like in the moment you're going, oh, there's this valuable lesson. I'm so glad this happened. You want the lesson, but you're never glad it happened in that sense, because it can be embarrassing, and it can be, it can hurt your pride, and kind of, it really can take your feet out from under you and make you feel like, maybe I shouldn't do this. And that lie gets planted, and that voice gets loud of, see, I told you you were not cut out for business. I told you other people could do it better. I told you you should have never, and you start to have that self-doubt that gets louder and louder, and the fear that gets louder. But now fear is no longer just tormenting you with like, what if? It has proof. It's like, see, I told you, And so I think this is such a tough topic. When I'm on stage at business boutique events or on the podcast or wherever, I love sharing stories of failure, because it makes people realize I fail all the time. Yep. Just because they see the really polished, produced videos doesn't mean there haven't been terrible videos. Or if I had a good speaking event, I've also had ones where I bombed, and you're like, I just want to disappear right now.
Right.
But I love your perspective of, you can learn from it, and it doesn't mean you're never going to do it again. But I think that is the biggest difference, because one of the main stories I've told before on stage is a speaking event, the very first one that I bombed. It was early on in my career, so I wasn't super confident as a speaker. I didn't have a ton of experience under my belt. And I literally cried the entire 6-hour drive home from Indiana. Yeah. But what I told myself on that drive was never again. I will never speak again. I will never walk on another stage. I will never put myself out there, because it's kind of that fight or flight moment of like, I want to protect myself, and I've been hurt. And I don't want to do that again. Now, thankfully, I didn't listen to that voice, and I walked on another stage and picked myself up and learned from it. But I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people let that failure moment define them, and they have a lie that says, you can't do this, I told you so, just go back home and pack up. What do you think is the difference between the people that keep going and the people that give up? The people that say, I'm going to learn from this, I'm going to dust myself off. Yes, I'm embarrassed, my pride is hurt, people are talking about me behind my back, but oh well, I'm going to try again, like you do, like you think of it. And those people that say, no, like that was kind of the final moment for me. I'm giving up. I don't know that I can pack up. I don't know that I can pick myself up and keep going. What do you think? What do you see the differences between those types of people and how they handle it?
Well, in thinking about my own journey, I had a group that I met with every month. These were other entrepreneurs, very different industries, very different stages of our businesses. But we would meet every month, and we would talk about one thing, what's not going well. And we would each go around the table and just share, here's what's not going well. And so I didn't feel alone. And I saw that the same struggles I was having, other people were having, just maybe in different ways.
Right.
And if it weren't for that group, I don't know if I would have kept going. So I think it's just so important that you surround yourself with people who are doing something similar, maybe in a different industry, but how can you get together, whether it's once a month, every couple months, and just talk about what's not working and what challenges are you going through, and what are your fears, and just say that stuff out loud, because there's that saying, it's lonely at the top. And I think in business it's so true. When you're trying to build this thing and you don't have anyone to talk to, it's lonely. And that's when your self-talk can kind of get in there and actually be the thing that says, you know what, I'm done.
Right.
Because you don't have the input of other people who are saying, no, this is normal.
Right. And you just, exactly, it makes you feel normalized. And this is a silly example, but so my husband and I, we have two kids, two little boys, 1.5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. And so we will go out to a restaurant and we see this other family and the kids are just being crazy and they're throwing food, and it's 2 toddlers and they're screaming and you're just like, oh, we're normal. Like, you're not happy they're having a hard time. You're just like, thank goodness it's not just us. We're the screw up parents that have the crazy kids that can't seem to get it together. It's like, nobody has it together. We're all doing the best we can in parenting or life or business. And it's so true. You just want to feel like, okay, this doesn't mean I can't do the thing. Everyone has problems and challenges. And really that makes me think of our whole view on failure, I think a lot of times can be skewed, where we think of failure as, this is a sign we're doing something wrong. This is a sign we're not cut out. If we're failing, then we probably shouldn't do the thing. Or if we're scared, we shouldn't do the thing. But failure is just a normal part of the journey. It's an expectation. When you fail, just expect it. It's kind of like when your kids are crazy. It's not like, oh, something's wrong with my kids. It's like, no, they're kids. That's what they do. Yes, it's inconvenient and annoying, but that's what they do. And so when you begin to just set your expectation there, then it doesn't have to feel like this devastating blow that kills your confidence and kills your belief in your business and that type of thing, you just begin to say, okay, like in your recent example, because you've had multiple failures that you've picked yourself up and turned into a huge success, when that second location didn't work, you're like, all right, we're gonna learn from this and we'll do it differently next time. It doesn't mean we can never expand our business, but I think sometimes you have to have some of those reps before you can really believe in it and realize it's a normal part of the journey. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you need help shaking off some of the embarrassment from a recent failure, which I've been there, well, I've got some encouragement for you. You can download my Shame Off You template by clicking the link below. Now, you can check out this next video.